This chap here is a 17th century polymath with one extra superpower. Blaise Pascal was amazing at getting things he didn't invent named after him. Pascal's wager? It's a Muslim text from the 8th century. Pascal, suppose he did a bit of theory behind the pressure. Pascal programming language, he never even filed a bug report. Pascal's triangle, that was 1400 years old before Pascal was even born. So what is it? It's a pattern of numbers in a shape. You'll never guess what shape. The pattern is generated by two simple rules. Each row starts with a 1, and every space after the 1 is the sum of the two numbers diagonally above it, treating gaps as 0. For example, this 15 here is the sum of the 5 and the 10 above it. Why do we care about it? For a start, it's full of patterns. For example, if you colour in just the odd numbers, like so, you get a fractal. Apparently some of you like those. You may like to explore what happens if you think in base 3 or higher, maybe using different colours for different remainders. There are numerical patterns too. The first few rows look like the first few powers of 11, only it breaks down once you get an entry in the triangle that's bigger than 10, and you have to fix that with carries. And for my purposes, the interesting thing, if you add up the entries in a row, you get the corresponding power of 2. And we'll see why that is later. Triangle is full of good maths. I've linked a few of my favourite things below. Now, being mathematicians, we immediately see we can generate rows down the way forever. But how about up the way? We need to be a bit thoughtful, but we can do it using these rules. Every row starts with a 1, and any pair of adjacent numbers in the row adds up to the diagonal neighbour below, treating blanks as 0 again. And that's consistent. If we're given, for example, the fourth row, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, we can generate the row above it term by term, 1, 3, 3, 1. So what goes above the apex of the triangle? It starts with 1, as per the rule. Then we need the number we add to 1 to make 0, which is negative 1. Then a number that adds to negative 1 to make 0, that would be 1. And we can see that it's going to alternate all the way along. 1, negative 1, 1, etc. The line above, we can generate the same way. 1, minus 2, 3, minus 4, and so on. In fact, the negative nth row is the same as the nth diagonal of Pascal's triangle with alternating signs. But proving that is left as an exercise. But here we get something a little sad. When we add up the numbers in each row, we no longer get the powers of 2. Or do we? Well, no we don't. They're divergent series. But with a little jiggery-pokery and some help from Niels Henrik Abel, we can make it just about work. But to do that, we need to take a step back and ask what Pascal's triangle is for. The first place most people come across Pascal's triangle is in the binomial expansion. The nth row of the triangle gives the coefficients in the expansion of 1 plus x to the power of n. For example, 1 plus x to the power of 4 is 1 plus 4x plus 6x squared plus 4x cubed plus x to the power of 4. And very neatly, that pattern extends into the negative numbers as long as x is smaller than 1. Taking the negative first row's coefficients of the powers of x gives 1 minus x plus x squared minus x cubed, and so on. And that's a geometric series, with the first term 1 and common ratio minus x. For small enough x, that converges to 1 over 1 plus x, or 1 plus x to the power of minus 1. If you differentiate both of those expressions, the series term by term and the compact version, you get a similar expression for 1 plus x to the power of minus 2. And if you wanted to prove that it worked for all the negative integers, I could hardly stop you. And if this were a gung-ho sort of popular maths video, I would just stick x equals 1 in there and say, look, it's the negative powers of 2. But I reckon if you're doing something dicey, you really ought to flag it up. So we can't plug in x equals 1 because the series only converges when x is strictly smaller than 1. But we could put in 0.999, and we'd find something just a smidge larger than the power of 2 we were after. If we added more 9s, we could get as close to the power as we wanted. And this is the idea of Abel summation. The Abel sum of a series of numbers is what you get when you turn it into a power series of x and let x approach 1 from below. The Abel sum of, for example, 1 minus 2, 3 minus 4, 5 and so on is a quarter. We get the power of 2 back. Incidentally, the Abel sum of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on Turns out to be undefined. We're not animals.